Picture this. You left home in June 2025. You thought you'd be back by March. You've missed Thanksgiving. You've missed Christmas. You missed your daughter's first steps. You missed your father's funeral. Now it's April 2026. You've been at sea for 241 days. The toilets on your ship broke months ago. Last week, a fire tore through the laundry room and 600 of your shipmates lost their beds. And this morning, before sunrise, you helped launch F/A 18 Super Hornets on strike missions against Iran. This is not a movie. This is life aboard USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest warship ever built. Right now, in the middle of a war. Every day you hear about Trump's negotiations. Every day analysts talk about carrier strike groups and amphibious assaults. But nobody is talking about the 4,000 men and women living inside that ship, what they eat, where they sleep, how they keep going after 241 days. Today we talk about them. USS Gerald R. Ford is not just any aircraft carrier. It is the most advanced, most expensive, and most powerful warship ever constructed by any nation in human history. Hull number CVN-78, lead ship of the Ford class, 1,106 feet long, longer than the Empire State Building is tall, over 100,000 tons of displacement, powered by two A-1B nuclear reactors that generate 3 times the electrical power of a Nimitz-class carrier. It can steam for more than 20 years without refueling. It was commissioned in 2017, after years of delays and billions in cost overruns. The Navy called it the future of naval aviation. Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, EMALS, replacing the 70-year-old steam catapult technology. Advanced arresting gear, 11 weapons elevators capable of moving 24,000 pounds of ordnance in seconds. Dual-band radar, a flight deck designed to generate more sorties per day than any carrier before it. When it left Naval Station Norfolk on June 24, 2025, the plan was a routine deployment to Europe. The crew was told 6 months, maybe 7. Back home by early March 2026. Families made plans. Kids marked calendars. Then, Venezuela happened. Ford was redirected to the Caribbean to support Operation Southern Spear, the capture of Nicolas Maduro in January 2026. First extension. Crew informed, "You're not coming home yet." Then Iran. Ford was ordered to redeploy from the Caribbean to the Middle East in February 2026. Second extension. Crew informed on February 12th, 2 weeks before the bombs started falling on Tehran. Return date, late April or early May. Then the war started on February 28th, and the third extension became a reality nobody wanted to say out loud. As of April 2nd, 2026, USS Gerald R. Ford has been at sea for 241 days. The post-Vietnam War record for the longest continuous carrier deployment is 294 days, set by USS Abraham Lincoln in 2020 during COVID. Ford is 53 days away from breaking it. If the war continues through May, Ford could reach 300 days. Deployment lengths not seen since the Gulf of Tonkin, since Vietnam. The Vice Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Jim Kilby, told the Senate Armed Services Committee directly, "That extension will ultimately be about an 11-month deployment. There will be an impact on her return and the schedule for her maintenance. She needs to be ready to go again." The sailors heard that testimony. They know the math. Here is a detail that sounds almost funny, until you think about what it actually means. USS Gerald R. Ford, the most technologically advanced warship in human history, has been dealing with a broken sewage treatment and water purification system for months. The Navy's official line, the system is operating within normal parameters. The reality, reported by the Wall Street Journal and confirmed by sailors speaking anonymously, the plumbing issues have made life aboard miserable in ways that have nothing to do with combat. Think about what that means on a ship with 4,000 people. There are no open windows. No fresh air ventilation beyond what the ship's systems provide. The ocean is outside. Everything else, everything human beings need to survive and function, is managed internally. Food, water, waste, air, heat, all of it. When the sewage system malfunctions on a ship that size, the smell spreads through ventilation ducts into berthing compartments, the spaces where sailors sleep. It penetrates the mess halls where they eat. It makes an already confined, high-stress environment actively unpleasant in a way that compounds over days and weeks and months. The Ford's plumbing problems became a running story in naval circles before the Iran War even began. Sailors joked about it darkly. The Navy promised fixes. Some were made. The problems persisted. Then the war started. And suddenly the sailors dealing with malfunctioning sewage systems were also launching combat sorties against a nation of 85 million people. Two realities existing simultaneously on the same ship. This is what extended deployments actually look like from the inside. Not carrier strike groups on maps, not analysts in studios, broken pipes in FA-18S taking off at 3 in the morning. On March 12th, 2026, day 262 of Ford's deployment, 2 weeks into the Iran War, a fire broke out in the carrier's main laundry spaces. The Navy's initial statement was brief. Non-combat related fire in a laundry area, 2 sailors with non-life-threatening injuries, quickly contained. Nothing to see here. Operations continuing normally. The full story, reported by the New York Times, was considerably more serious. It took 30 hours to fully contain the fire. Not the fire itself burning for 30 hours, but the entire response operation. Firefighting, water damage cleanup, checking for reflash points, making sure the fire was completely out. On a ship where everything is interconnected, ventilation, electrical systems, structural compartments, a fire in laundry spaces is not a small thing. The water used to fight the fire flooded the berthing compartments directly adjacent to the laundry spaces. 600 sailors lost their beds. Their mattresses were soaked. Their personal belongings were damaged. In a space where a sailor's entire private world is a rack, a shelf 183 centimeters long and 76 centimeters wide with a curtain, losing that space is not a minor inconvenience. It is the loss of the only private square footage you have in your entire world. Those 600 sailors had to find space elsewhere on a ship that was already operating at full capacity during active combat operations. Hot racking, sharing a bunk with another sailor on a different shift, became the reality for hundreds of people already stretched thin by combat tempo. And after the fire, the decision was made. Ford would pull back from the Red Sea and sail to Suda Bay Naval Base on the Greek island of Crete for repairs in the middle of a war. The Navy's most advanced carrier pulled offline for maintenance, while the Abraham Lincoln continued striking Iran alone. The message that sent to the sailors aboard, that even their ship needed a break, was not lost on them. If you want to understand what this war actually looks like from the inside, not the press briefings, not the satellite maps, hit subscribe. We cover the human reality of these deployments every week. Drop a comment. Do you think the sailors on USS Gerald R. Ford are getting the recognition they deserve? Tell us what you think. Let's walk through what daily life actually looks like aboard USS Gerald R. Ford during a combat deployment. The Ford feeds approximately 4,000 people 3 times a day, roughly 12,000 to 15,000 individual meals every 24 hours. The ship has multiple mess decks operating on rotating schedules so that sailors from all 3 shifts can eat at appropriate times relative to their duty hours. The food is better than most people expect. The Ford has its own bakery producing fresh bread daily. A full butcher operation. Pizza is served on Fridays, a naval tradition going back decades nicknamed Slider Sunday on older ships. There are salad bars, hot entrees, a short order grill. The Navy takes food seriously because morale is food, and morale is combat effectiveness. But here is the reality of eating on a combat deployment. You eat when your watch schedule allows it, not when you're hungry. If your shift ends at 0200 and the main galley stops serving hot food at 0130, you eat whatever is available in the after-hours line. After 241 days, the rotation of menu options is thoroughly familiar. There is no novelty left. You eat because you need calories, not because food is pleasant. Ford operates on a 3-section watch rotation. 3 teams of roughly equal size, each standing an 8-hour watch, rotating around the clock. In practice, with training requirements, administrative duties, and combat operations tempo, most sailors during active strike operations are getting 6 hours of sleep in a good day, often 4 or 5. The berthing compartments, the rack, are organized in 3-tier bunk configurations. Each individual rack is approximately 6 feet long and 2.5 feet wide. There is a small storage locker beneath the mattress for personal items, a privacy curtain. That is the entirety of personal space for a junior enlisted sailor on a 241-day deployment. Senior officers have private or semi-private staterooms, but the approximately 3,000 enlisted sailors below decks live in compartments housing anywhere from 20 to 80 people. The compartment smells like the people in it. It is never fully dark because the ship never stops operating. It is never fully quiet because the ship is constantly generating power, launching aircraft, and moving through the ocean at 30 knots. After the March 12th fire, 600 of those sailors lost even that. For days, they slept in passageways, in common areas, or in borrowed racks from sailors on opposite watch sections, in combat, while the air wing was flying strikes against Iran overhead. The flight deck of USS Gerald R. Ford during active combat operations is one of the most dangerous workplaces on Earth. Jet blast from F/A-18S can reach 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit. A forgotten wrench sucked into a jet intake destroys a $70 million aircraft and potentially kills the pilot. The noise is so loud that even with hearing protection, sustained exposure causes permanent damage. Flight deck crews, the men and women in colored jerseys whose job is to move, arm, fuel, and launch aircraft, work 12 to 18-hour days during high-tempo operations. They wear color-coded jerseys, yellow for aircraft handlers, red for ordnance men loading weapons, purple for fuel crews, green for maintenance, blue for aircraft spotters. Each color is a specialty. Each specialty is essential. One mistake in the chain, and an aircraft does not come back. During Operation Epic Fury, Ford's Carrier Air Wing 8, including FA-18E and FA-18F Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers, E-2D Hawkeyes, and MH-60 helicopters, has been generating combat sorties around the clock. The pace of operations during a sustained air campaign means that maintenance crews work overnight to prepare aircraft for morning strikes. Flight deck crews work dawn to dusk launching and recovering. And intelligence officers work through the night to build the next day's targeting packages. This is the operating tempo. Every day, for 241 days, internet access aboard Ford is real but limited. The Navy has expanded satellite connectivity for sailors to maintain contact with families. A lesson learned from COVID-era deployments when mental health crises spiked during isolated operations. But bandwidth is shared among 4,000 people. Video calls are possible, but unpredictable. Messages get through, sometimes slowly. According to reporting from the Wall Street Journal, sailors aboard Ford have missed significant personal milestones during this deployment. Funerals of parents, births of children, first words, first steps, first days of school, weddings that happened without them. Some sailors have reported that the compounding weight of these missed moments, not the operational tempo, not the danger, not the broken toilets, is the hardest part. And some have said directly, "When I get home, I am leaving the Navy." The Navy is aware of this retention risk. Admiral Caudle, Chief of Naval Operations, issued a statement acknowledging the extraordinary length of Ford's deployment. Our sailors understand the importance of their service. They are away from home longer than planned because the nation needs them forward and ready. What the statement does not say, some of those sailors will not be there the next time the nation needs them. Because 241 days is a long time to ask someone to miss their life. The longest continuous aircraft carrier deployment in the post-Vietnam War era was set by USS Abraham Lincoln, the same Lincoln currently bombing Iran from the Arabian Sea, in 2020. 294 days at sea during the COVID-19 pandemic, when port calls became impossible, and the ship stayed underway because there was nowhere safe to go. That record stood for 6 years as an anomaly, a pandemic artifact, not a precedent. The Navy never intended to match it under normal operational conditions. Ford is now 53 days from matching it. If the war continues and Ford remains in the region through mid-April, 294 days falls. If it stays through May, and Trump's 2 to 3 week timeline means operations may continue well into May, Ford could reach 310, 320 days, numbers last seen during the sustained air campaigns of the Vietnam War, during the Gulf of Tonkin, when carriers stayed on station for months because there was no rotation available. The difference between then and now, the sailors of Vietnam-era carriers didn't have smartphones showing them exactly what they were missing at home. They didn't receive real-time video of their child's birthday party with an empty chair where they should be sitting. Distance in 1968 had a different psychological weight than distance in 2026. The Navy's readiness system is also feeling the strain. When Ford finally returns to Norfolk, it will need a significant maintenance availability before it can deploy again. The EMALS system, the weapons elevators, the propulsion plant, the sewage treatment system, the fire-damaged laundry spaces, all of it needs inspection and repair after the most intensive combat deployment of a Ford-class carrier since the class entered service. That maintenance window means Ford will be unavailable for the next crisis, wherever that crisis emerges. Here is the full picture as of April 2nd. USS Gerald R. Ford has been at sea for 241 days. Its crew has fought a war, dealt with a broken sewage system, survived a fire that put 600 sailors out of their beds, and watched their return date pushed back 3 times. They are now 53 days from breaking a record nobody wanted to break. Every morning, Carrier Air Wing, 8 launches strike missions against Iran. Every night, maintenance crews work through dark hours to make sure the aircraft are ready again by dawn. In between, 4,000 human beings eat, sleep, miss their families, and keep the world's most advanced warship running in the middle of a war. Trump talks about deals and deadlines. Analysts talk about carrier cover and amphibious assaults. And somewhere in the northern Red Sea, a sailor who has been away from home since June 2025 is eating Friday pizza and watching a video of his kid taking the first steps he missed. That is the part of this war nobody puts on a map. USS Gerald R. Ford. 241 days. Still at sea. Still flying. Subscribe. And drop your comment below. Do these sailors have your respect? Tell us.